Hi, everyone. I'm Greg Lambert, the editor of the LVN monthly newsletter, and today we are shining our spotlight on our LVNx keynote speaker, Jennifer Leonard. Jennifer is the founder of Creative Lawyer. So, Jennifer, thank you very much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much for talking to me, Greg. I'm delighted to be here.
So your keynote set for Thursday, September 19th, and it's titled The Art of the Possible, Channeling Creativity to Shape the Future of Legal. So you mind talking a little bit more about what inspired you for this theme and, especially why it's particularly relevant to the legal industry today?
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, my company is called Creative Lawyers. I have become fascinated over the last decade or so about how the legal industry can harness the power of creativity and imagination and innovation to shape a better future for people who practice law, business professionals across the legal landscape, and most importantly of all, the people that we serve in our roles as members of the legal profession. And I think we're at this point where there's a convergence of factors that we'll talk about during the keynote that really create the opportunity to channel all of that creativity that we come into the profession with and apply it intentionally and thoughtfully in ways that allow us to do new and different things that were previously impossible. And so I'm excited to spend time with the LVNx community and think about what that might look like. And I'm really, really excited to join this group in particular at this moment because I am so excited about the possibilities that creativity creates for our future.
Nice. So I am not the first LVN sort of podcast that you've done recently. You were on the LVN's Off the Clock podcast with Justin and Keith, and like I told you as we were coming on, it's like you did a really good job handling those two guys. So
I'm very grateful to them for putting up with me. It was a delight.
Yeah. So you discussed on the Off the Clock podcast the potential disruption of AI and its implications for the legal industry. And I suggest if people haven't listened to that yet that they go take a listen. There was a lot going on. Can you explain, just how do you see AI shaping the future of legal services and what legal professionals should be doing to prepare for the changes?
Absolutely. As I said, I have been a member of the legal profession in the industry for 20 years, and I truly think there has never been a force that will be more transformative than generative AI. If you had talked to me 2 years ago, I would have said hybrid work and the forces the pandemic created would have been the biggest disruption in our lifetime, and now that's sort of just something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. I think generative AI is fundamentally different. I think the power of this technology both to sort of change the way that we work and practice law and deliver legal services, and to open up possibilities to do what was previously impossible, and counter some of the limitations that come with just human beings trying to perform all the knowledge work around us is truly exciting. And we could spend weeks, sadly, anybody who is near me at any time in my life of the last 2 years knows I could spend weeks talking about this. But just briefly at a very high level, I think there are 4 major ways that generative AI will reshape legal services that are of interest to this community in particular. 1, pricing and the business model of private sector legal services. We know that we have predominantly priced our services by the hour, a model that has been both durable and stubborn and has led to great success across law firms, but really limits us to the number of hours that we have in a day. And I know many of your community members focus on pricing innovation. And I think that generative AI and the way that it makes our work more efficient will really transform the pricing of legal services and change the dynamics around the purchasing of legal services and the relationship between the corporate law department and law firms. Relatedly, I think the prominence and importance of business professionals who work on both the firm side and the corporate side will really be elevated in this era. This requires an all-hands-on-deck approach to thinking through what innovation looks like, feels like, and the shapes and contours it takes. So I am trained as a lawyer. I know in law firms, lawyers are the only ones who can own equity in a firm. And so lawyers tend to drive the innovation in many cases. And I think this is an era where those dynamics will start to shift in really positive ways. The third change, I think that I have not figured out an answer to, I maybe don't have as rosy a vision about, but I think it will be an exciting endeavor to try to figure out together, is what all of this means for the development of junior professionals in the legal industry. I came up learning, as many other lawyers and legal professionals did, through the repetition of rote tasks that weren't particularly interesting, but over time gave me a real understanding of what it meant to be a lawyer and helped me develop my judgment and my writing and my research skills. In an era where machines and technology may disrupt a lot of that work, how will we make sure that the deficiencies that it could possibly create are bolstered by better professional development opportunities? I also have optimism that we can create new ways to customize more supportive feedback for our new legal professionals in a way that helps them feel excited and optimistic and growth oriented. But I think it's a big puzzle to figure out together. And the final way that I think it will change things for this conversation, so I don't leave you on the line for weeks, is the leadership question, right? Again, the way that the legal profession is structured, the chair of every law firm and the general counsel of most law departments are lawyers. They came into a profession that was very stable, and they had an idea of what the people in their organizations had to do to be successful and help the firm or department thrive. This changes all of that, and it requires that the leader of every team, every organization, every firm, and every business unit become the chief learning officer for that business unit and model what it looks like to learn new things every single day, to fail and fall on your face sometimes, and recognize that that's part of innovation and creativity and growth. But it will be an era of discomfort for many people who are used to having all the answers and knowing exactly how to lead people. So those are sort of the big high-level ways I think that generative AI will transform the legal profession.
Now, we talked a bit about generative AI, the technology, and people thinking of innovation that way. But I want to kind of pivot a little bit and ask you, what do you think the role of and do you believe that diversity of thought and experience also play a role in fostering creativity within the legal profession, and how does that work in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of the mindset shifts around growth and around learning, I think diversity of thought, diversity of discipline, diversity of background is probably the biggest driver of success that firms and legal departments will need to navigate the future. When I worked at Penn for many years, it wasn't until I left the law school, when I had an innovation role and started traveling around campus and meeting with engineers and education professors and nurses and people over at Wharton who led innovation and entrepreneurship programs, that my mind started being activated in different ways, because I wasn't surrounded by people who were all trained to think in exactly the same ways, and many of whom had the same backgrounds. That lateral thinking, that inspiration from other areas, is what I have learned to teach my students, how I work with firm leadership to think outside the box, to borrow a cliche. And that really is essential if you're going to come up with brand new ways to think about doing things. And by elevating the roles of the professionals around you who have different disciplinary strengths, which I think historically has been a challenge for the legal profession, will really be the key to figuring out the next step in the journey. So I think multidisciplinary approaches to problem solving are like table stakes to figuring out the future.
So for LVNx, other than hopefully nice cool weather in Chicago in September, what are you thinking is going to be one of the most exciting things about you being there? And then what do you hope that the conference attendees will gain from the conference overall?
I mean, one of the reasons I'm so excited to have been asked to participate in this gathering is because it is a gathering of people like me who have been interested in innovation, have been advocating for change. Hopefully that doesn't happen during the keynote, but we'll deal with it if it does.
Yeah, well, hopefully you move around more than I do.
It's good feedback, right, if I'm not. Being surrounded by people who have dedicated their careers, as I have, to really thinking in new ways about how we could do things differently and better, it will be a fun atmosphere, I think. I don't know that there will need to be as much persuasion to respond to skepticism that change is necessary in that room, which means that we get to get down to business really quickly. And what I hope that attendees walk away from the keynote, but throughout the conference, is being inspired, being excited about the fact that we get to live through something like this, and not just live through it, but actively contribute to it. And I also hope that people leave the presentation equipped with some frameworks to organize change. Change, I think, for most people in this audience, unlike some other audiences, is exciting and inspiring, but it can veer into chaos pretty quickly if you don't come up with frameworks to structure change. So I'll share some of the frameworks I've learned from other disciplines that have been forced to innovate and transform earlier than we have. And then I want to do more than talk about theory and provide some actual practice and application of that theory. So we'll be engaged in a collaborative activity, all of us together in the room, where we will emerge, even though it's a relatively short time together, with thousands of new ideas as a collective for solving a problem. And I hope that application of theory to practice has people walking out of the keynote ready to dive into all the awesome sessions I've seen on the agenda and think about the collaborative power of applying frameworks for change to actual problems and opportunities that we want to take advantage of.
All right. Well, Jennifer Leonard, founder of Creative Lawyer, I really appreciate you letting me shine the spotlight on you, even if the spotlight seems to go off in my room. So.
Thank you so much, Greg. It was such a delight to be with you, and I can't wait to see you in Chicago.
Yeah. So for those listening that haven't gotten their tickets yet, you can go visit www.legalvaluenetwork.com to get your tickets for the LVNx 2024 conference experience in Chicago. And this will be from Wednesday, September 18th to Friday, September 20th at the Westin Chicago River North.
Awesome. I can't wait to see you all there.
All right. See you there.